Hello, everyone. We welcome you to the Velvet Ditch here in Oxford, Mississippi, on the corner. A proud sponsor here on the Red and Blue Crew podcast. A little bit different today. Not going to be just about Ole Miss sports. As you see to my right, Jared Foster, the proprietor here at the Velvet Ditch. Also, want to say a special thank you to the Landshark, located on West Jackson Avenue. We'll talk about them in a little bit, and we also want to say a special thank you to our other sponsors, the Hearn Law Firm and the Dirt Doctor. David Johnson to my far right. I'm, of course, Brad Logan, and we're happy to be joined by Jared Foster today. And Jared, number one, thanks for letting us come in. And I know there's a lot to get to, but this is an incredible restaurant.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Honored to have you guys in. Obviously, y'all been supporting us from day one. I've had my dad's loves you guys. You help keep him in tune with with everything too, and y'all treat him like family. And I appreciate you guys.
Tell us a little bit about some special things. I know not necessarily about just you're always slammed, but what makes this place different?
And first and foremost, it's the city of Oxford. It is the Velvet Ditch. That's what makes this place special. We could take this brand and throw it on the corner of Auburn, Georgia, Athens, wherever it may be, but the culture here in Oxford is what makes this place special and that's why we named it the Velvet Ditch. And there's many reasons why we named it that, but Oxford's been called the Velvet Ditch, for so long, and it's coined that supposedly William Faulkner said it, and Oxford's an easy place to fall into and a hard place, or easy place to crawl into, hard place to fall out, or easy place to fall into, hard place to crawl out of.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. But yeah, so that's what we wanted our restaurant, bar to be known for, because when you bring customers in, you want them to get stuck here. Well, Oxford is that for me, and it's that for a lot of people. So many people don't realize how amazing of a city this is until they come spend some time here. And, even Washington State fans, listen to what they said about Oxford. They came here. One guy that's traveled into he goes to every single Washington State game ever, right? And he literally said Oxford's the best place he's ever been. So that's what makes this place special. What makes it different is that we're not just a bar. We're a restaurant till 9:30 at night. And then so we get we put out amazing food here, amazing customer service. But then at 9:30 at night, it turns into that bar. And we did just get voted #1 sports bar in Oxford, which was obviously a huge checkpoint for us, something that we didn't expect to happen so fast, but that did come down to the culture that we have here at the Velvet Ditch. When we started the brand, our goal was to make sure that we treat it like it's your grandmother, because that's what our business model is built off of. If your grandma's not satisfied, fix it. We treat the 6-year-old Lane Kiffin, the grandmother, everybody the same, and that's what makes our brand thrive. Our staff's phenomenal, and the corner that we're set on, that God has put us in, has been absolutely the best location we could be in.
And go ahead, David.
Well, Jared, what I was going to say is you brought up your dad, and our feelings are mutual with your dad, Lance Foster. Lance was one of the first subscribers I ever had back in 2010 when we launched the 24/7 site here, and has been with me through thick and thin, and it's been rather thick lately. But he's still with me, and we appreciate you and your friendship and all kind of things. And before we started the podcast today, we were talking a little bit off record, but I'm going to give Jared an opportunity to put some of this on record. Let's start off with statue. Let's start off with potential plans to do something I think Ole Miss fans would greatly appreciate here.
Yeah. So we've had the talks, and obviously there's word around town about we are speaking on Lane Kiffin here, which it's obviously the trending topic right now is Lane Kiffin leaving Oxford? Is Lane Kiffin leaving Oxford? Which is clearly something that any Ole Miss fan would stress about, and something that hopefully we don't have to stress about very long. We would love to hear that he's not leaving. He's been a huge asset for the city. His family, everything in between, has been amazing here. When you even look at Mr. Sanders and what he's done for this whole entire city, all of our programs, all of our sporting, everything is at the top right now. This is definitely the highest Ole Miss has ever stood on a national scale. And Lane Kiffin's had a huge part in that. Saying that, he's been a huge part of the Velvet Ditch. He supported this business. You look at the recruiting standpoint of bringing a kid in from, say, Miami that may not have been to a small town like Oxford, Mississippi. And his experience here, what you show him is what he's going to remember the place for. So, up before the Velvet Ditch was ever formed, look at the other places that we've been able to take the athletes and their families. And obviously this city offers a lot of things: restaurants, bars. But I believe this is the first bar restaurant that's just an open environment for really everyone, every culture of all types. And Lane Kiffin said this is one of the best recruiting tools he's ever been given, which is one of the best things I've ever heard, not only as a business owner, but as a person. We offer a very comfortable feeling here. Lane Kiffin has been a huge advocate of the Velvet Ditch for recruiting purposes in general. And in return, it's given me the ability to share with some of these recruits my past history on how I took advantage of being 6'5" white in America and having an amazing dad and, pissing on my scholarship here at Ole Miss back in 2008. Saying that, I have met with people like Keegan Croucher, a future, quarterback here that we plan. He just committed to Ole Miss. And Coach Kiffin's helped send those guys in here and help me spiritually connect with them as well, which gives me purpose and more purpose than just selling food. Our goal here at the Velvet Ditch is to continue to brand Oxford for what it is, an amazing city, amazing culture. We had talked about the idea of, a statue for Lane Kiffin should be in Oxford, Mississippi. I know some of you like to see, a coach retire, win national championships before you go that far for it. But like for us, we believe that from a moral standpoint, if you look at Lane Kiffin and what he's dealing with right now in his life, and you really have to swap roles with the man, if his dream job wasn't Ole Miss, who knows, what his dream job has always been. But if you look at the lifestyle that he's living now, he's got his daughter that's a junior in college here. He's got his son that's a sophomore in high school. He threw a touchdown this past Friday night to win the game 43-42. Knox backing up a junior quarterback at Oxford High, which is not easy. The idea that Knox may want to transfer and start somewhere else, or, Knox has already transferred from the West Coast to here. So for him to leave again, there's a lot of factors that make you believe why Lane would leave and why Lane would stay. Those are some topics we want to get into today, but we have a plan, hopefully, once Lane Kiffin decides he's staying in Oxford, we want to put a Lane Kiffin statue here at the Velvet Ditch. And that is something that is a no-brainer for us.
I love the idea. I think that's great.
Yeah, he's brought a lot here. You look at it on a moral standpoint. If the man passes on moving out of this town, no matter if he stays for 2 years, 3 more years, if you look at the factors he's going to have to weigh in on, which is his family. He's got his brother here, their family. He's got his daughter here that's going to be a senior at Ole Miss next year. It affects her, in my opinion, a lot if her dad decides to leave, and the reasons why he would leave. We'll talk about some of those in a minute. But from a moral standpoint, outside of just winning championships, which is so much more important, is the morals and the core values of a human being. Why would Lane Kiffin stay? And if he stays for his family, for us, that's worth having a statue on our property for.
David and Jared, it's been well documented that the university has been very proactive in keeping Lane Kiffin here. Yeah. With there's reports that there very well could be a contract on the table. I have no doubt that the university will do what it has to financially and any other way support staff-wise to keep Lane Kiffin on staff, to keep Lane Kiffin the head coach at Ole Miss. Secondly, you talk about the family concept. If you look a couple of years ago when Lane Kiffin and Auburn and all of that dynamic was at play, the family dynamic of Landry Kiffin that was documented on ESPN wanting her dad to stay was a huge component in Lane Kiffin staying here. And I think most importantly, you talk about what he's done at Ole Miss. Obviously, there could be some opportunities down the road, but should he stay 2, 3, 1, whatever, an additional time here at Ole Miss, I think that's a testament to not only Ole Miss, its fan base, but the Oxford community, the Oxford restaurant community, and everything that kind of all in tandem. I've said all along that Lane Kiffin has a perfect staff here because he has an incredible community, his incredible fan base, but he's got an administration, Dr. Boyce, down to Keith Carter. It's just a well-oiled machine. And then you throw in the Grove Collective with Walker Jones and how well that has gone, and everyone's kind of pulling the same rope. And that's a really positive thing from not only we talk about Kiffin and his family, but it's a really positive thing for the community of Oxford.
Yeah. I want to, before we move on to other Lane Kiffin things, there's a big ball game this weekend versus Oklahoma. The Velvet Ditch, it really seems to have its pulse on the cultural vibe of Oxford, Mississippi. Yeah. And briefly, I'm going to get you to talk about something else. October 29th, Erica Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk, and J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, will both be speaking in Oxford at a Turning Point USA event.
Yeah.
And the Velvet Ditch shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. You guys have your thumbs on the pulse of this town. You guys are involved in a scholarship that is working itself out right now for Turning Point USA.
Correct. Yes, sir. So, obviously, as American loving individuals and the opportunity to run a business in a town that has continued to support the freedom that we have here to run a business and bring all types of culture in here and also pass on a reputation back to the rest of the country, because we are if you look at this as a monopoly board, the square, for example, the Velvet Ditch is like that park place, or that boardwalk. We're like the free pass go spot. Everybody's got to pass it, right? So for us, we are now the face right here across from the Oliver. I believe we're the face of the entry of the square. Saying that, we have lucked out by connecting with the students, growing with the students, and it's becoming a major spot for people to come to, especially even tourists, because when the tourists come to town, the first bar they see, since we don't have walls, it's a welcoming place to bring them in and say, oh, that's a popping spot. A lot of other bars, if you look around, are kind of hidden until you get into them. You don't realize how amazing and how big the library is until you get inside of it. Saying that, with Leslie here at Turning Point, she leads the Turning Point community here at Ole Miss, and me and Leslie spoke, and we spilt some good ideas, but I also prayed and worked with some women here on this property, some families that felt the need to donate towards something with Charlie Kirk and Turning Point. So we came up with the idea that we would start a scholarship fund. Say there's 2,000 members, I believe, here at Ole Miss inside the Turning Point, community. Mm-hmm. We are going to start a scholarship fund, which we've already raised money to do, and the fund is out there. And just to be clear, that money will be going to Turning Point, not to the Velvet Ditch. But our goal is to have a Charlie Kirk Day where, starting here to 20 restaurants, other businesses, how many ever want to come on board, and a percentage of your sales that day, no matter how small it is, like the New Testament says, you give with your heart. There's no amount that you're supposed to give. You give with your heart, but that will go to Turning Point, and it'll be a fundraiser for a Charlie Kirk scholarship. And somebody inside the Turning Point community here at Ole Miss will be given a scholarship, and money will be funded towards that program. And as long as we can keep it going, obviously that's the goal. Some things are known to die off, when somebody passes and you start stuff for people. Mm-hmm. Quite often, my father and I talked about this. What do you do to not lose the flame of it? Well, that's the best part about Oxford, is this city has to continue to thrive off the American core values and God's core values, should I say here. This city has to continue to thrive, because this is like the star of Mississippi, in my opinion. If you haven't been to Oxford, once you come, you leave knowing this place is special. So by us starting this, scholarship here, the goal is for us to be able to raise money, give it back. It'll be a public thing every year for the kid that does get the scholarship, and that's something we're working towards as a community here.
David, I want to follow up real quick. Something that really has jumped out to me throughout not only this conversation today, but throughout a number of our conversations over the life of our sponsorship with you guys, and then predating that, your faith's important to you. And I know that faith is important to a lot of people watching, and faith is a huge component of your life.
1,000%. I was atheist till I was 23 years old. It wasn't that I was a demonic person. It was just that my God was my dad, and it wasn't that he wanted to be. He just was so present in my life, and being successful. You don't know struggle, till you struggle. My dad never let me struggle, which means that he was a successful father. He was always there. I have amazing parents. My stepmother, to stepfather, to my mother, my stepsister. They were all leaders of God in my life, and I was not looking at it in a God direction. When you play football and basketball, baseball, track, and your identity is through the opinions and the approvals of others. Mm-hmm. Quite often, when that mirror that is above you, every day I looked up, and if my dad was proud, I was good, right? When that mirror shattered, when I made a dumb decision, and we'll talk about that another day, but I made a dumb decision to lose my scholarship here, and supposed to be quarterback here back in the day, and I didn't know what to do when that mirror hit the ground. Yeah. And there was no picking that back up, because my identity was through the approval of my family, even though they still loved me unconditionally. By me not knowing where unconditional love comes from through a relationship with Jesus Christ, everything I had was on the ground. So that's where I looked down to. Saying that, man, I ended up in a jail cell and multiple times, but definitely was guilty in 2013. And the drugs wouldn't kill me, the guns wouldn't kill me, the cops wouldn't kill me, and I did not know why. And I ended up in a jail cell in a 7x7. And, I'll never forget, when I met Jesus Christ in that 7x7, no visits, no windows, no cell phone, obviously, just me and some brick walls. There was a warm blanket that wrapped around my life when I finally surrendered and realized that, like, I'd been running from the wrong thing the whole time. Amen. And I was worried about myself instead of, like, who I am to me instead of who I am to God. And that has completely changed my life, and I was blessed enough to get a 20th opportunity to be in a city like Oxford. And again, that's where the Velvet Ditch name comes from, is when you go through stuff in life, you always want to blame other people. You want to play victim. Mm-hmm. And there was times where I made decisions and I blamed where I was at instead of blaming myself. And whenever you do that, obviously it's easy to point, but when it really comes down to it, being able to realize that the problem is within you, that takes a mirror of something great. And that mirror was actually realizing that my mirror was from God, not from human approval. And I was given another opportunity at life, January 3rd, 2015. I'll never forget it. And then I got a crawfish costume off Amazon. I bought a train ticket home from Illinois from jail. I bought a crawfish costume, a crawfish pot. And my dad pulled up with a crawfish trailer after he realized how motivated I was. And I was given another opportunity at life. And the one thing I do is I admit I fail every single day. I've failed at least once since I woke up this morning. But I continue to give it back to God, and I'm loud about it. And all of everything that I have on this location, if you just, one day we'll sit down and I can put all the nails in it, but you will see that God ordained the Velvet Ditch and this location, along with the staff that's in it. Every time I turn my head, God puts somebody in my life, including you guys now, in my life to make it look like I know what I'm doing. And I give all the credit back to the God that has continuously shown me grace over my sins.
It's a story of redemption.
Yeah, it is.
As the Bible is.
It is. And then, David, I want to kind of throw it back to you and talk a little bit about in the pre-production meeting. You have an important date coming up.
Yeah.
And that number is also an important number to Jared.
Well, I ran into Jared the other day as he was going into the gym. I was going into the baseball card shop.
Yeah.
And we got to talking in the parking lot. And the number 8 has been significant in Jared's life. My next cancer scan is December the 8th.
Yeah, good things are coming.
Yeah, and we just talked about that. And there's a whole lot of coincidences, if you want to call them that. I think they're blessings from God, to be honest with you.
1,000%. God has to be a God of numbers. When you read the Bible, like everything is numbers. Mm-hmm. Like there's multiple Jareds.
Yes.
There's multiple Lance Foster. Or Lances. There's multiple Sanders. My mother. But there's the number of people in your life that love you, trust you, are willing to lay down their life for you. That number is so important. And then the number 8. If you look at the number 8 spiritually, it's new beginnings, new resurrections. 7 is completion. 8 is new beginnings, new resurrections. 8 has continuously been a symbol in my life that I've seen great things happen through. Even when I was going through struggles, mm-hmm. that number was sharpening me. Diamonds, are formed from pressure. So I imagine your relationship with God, since you've gotten your news, even my father that has, got the leukemia phone call. Yeah. I was standing in a driveway at a kid's house, and the address was 26, was added up to 8. I remember my dad asking me if I was sitting down. And I was like, no. And then I looked around, there was no chair. The only thing to sit down was on the concrete. But I had already been sitting down long enough, and I'd been through enough situations where I knew God pulled me out of a prison cell when I was guilty, that in that exact moment, there was no way you could, the fact that you're able to talk, you're not about to tell me something I can't hear. And he told me he had leukemia, and they said it wasn't going to be good. My dad will tell you, my stepmom, she was in the car, Jane. I said, it's okay. This is going to be fine. We're going to be good. And our whole family grew closer. And we would not have the Velvet Ditch if my dad wouldn't have got leukemia. We wouldn't. I would not have come back to Oxford to start this brand. It's not because Oxford wasn't great for me. It's just because as an egotistical human, I believe that I want to be somewhere else, and God's plan is always greater. So through that, now my dad's, my dad's doing great. Our family's closer. My brother's stepped up running his pool company. My stepmother also, it's been amazing to watch her chase her dreams. And, financially, to give Jane tons of credit, she could run her household financially. She is literally one of the hardest working women on the planet, and she's so authentic. And through this, Jesus has continued to shine a light on our family. And again, if my dad would not have gotten leukemia, the Velvet Ditch wouldn't be a brand, which is, again, one reason when my older brother, Landon Foster, mentioned the name, the Velvet Ditch, for the bar. And then my best friend, Dustin Freeman, a.k.a. Nuts, mentioned the Velvet Ditch twice in the same week. And I was like, I got to listen to these guys. This is a great name. I had another name for it that I won't share publicly because if I open another bar one day, I'm going to name it. But it was their idea, but it made so much sense because the Velvet Ditch is Oxford, but it's also my story. God has continuously said, let me drag you to where I want you to be because I know I have bigger plans for you. And that's the same thing he's doing in your life right now.
Amen.
You've had people reach out to you. We talked about this and connected earlier. You've had people reach out to you that you didn't expect to reach out to you. You've probably had people say things to you that you never even thought were as important as they are now because obviously you're looking at life in a different tunnel, but I told you since I saw you here a couple months back, you look healthier to me now than you did. There's not only a light from these cameras shining on you, you seem like you have another light shining within you too.
Well, I've had 2 major surgeries this year and then the cancer diagnosis, chemotherapy. 25's been tough, but you know what? It's been good. It's really been good. Look at the conversation we're having.
Right.
And the people that we're possibly reaching with this conversation. And, we were talking about coincidences, the number 8 and everything. Jared shared with me before we got on the air today, he had a conversation with his staff last night about the armor of God.
Yeah, it's a large topic.
So I've got a reader that sent me this challenge coin to put on the armor of God.
Yeah.
And ever since I got it out of the mailbox, I've not pulled it out of my pocket. Matter of fact, I sleep with it in my boxer briefs that have pockets in it.
That's awesome.
So this is always with me right here. And it came at a great time. And to Mr. Sanders, who sent it, I thank you very, very much. Guys, we got a football game to play.
We do, David. Hold your thoughts. Y'all hold your thoughts. We're going to take a timeout. Come back and talk a little bit more about athletics. It's been a fascinating conversation. Take a quick timeout. We'll come back. Jared Foster, David Johnson, I'm Brad Logan, back in a minute here from the beautiful Velvet Ditch.
Crawfish season is finally here, and your number one crawfish supplier is ready, now with 2 locations. The Landshark and the Velvet Ditch Seafood Daiquiri and Sports Bar, North Mississippi's largest crawfish supplier. The Velvet Ditch Seafood's delicious menu features prime filet, char-grilled oysters, crab legs, shrimp, lobster, catfish, and specialty cocktails and daiquiris. For Oxford's best seafood, choose the Landshark off Jackson Avenue behind Chick-fil-A and the Velvet Ditch Seafood Daiquiri and Sports Bar, University Avenue at South Lamar. Your number one crawfish supplier in North Mississippi.
And we welcome you back here. We are at the Velvet Ditch, and I'm with Jared Foster. He's David Johnson. I'm Brad Logan. We appreciate you joining us here on the Red and Blue Crew podcast, a special edition as we are here at our title and presenting sponsor, the Velvet Ditch. And Jared, before we get to Oklahoma and Ole Miss, the big game coming up, we talked about the armor of God. I know that's important to you.
Yeah, definitely. So it was very ironic. It's funny how God speaks to you. We as you go as a non-believer, and some of us may not remember that part of our life. I do. It was a longer. That 23 years is longer than the last 14. The last 14 have flown by. Saying that Satan's a bully. Like Satan is a bully. We live in a physical world where we forget that we're living in a spiritual, eternal life. That's like the number one most important thing is for us to forget that the physical is always going to kick our butt. Live spelt backwards is evil, L-I-V-E. It's evil. You're going to experience it. So the body of armor that we discussed, weirdly enough, that he has this coin in his pocket. We were in my kitchen, and as you know, in a heated kitchen, quite often arguments happen. And they were arguing, and I had to remind them all about the worst times of their life, the worst times of my life. Sitting in a jail cell, and you're stuck with that person. There's a toilet in the 7x7. You're stuck with that person. I had to remind them of the gratitude they needed to keep, and I also remind myself of the gratitude. But Satan's a bully, and anywhere Satan can find a hole in your armor, that's why it's called the belt of truth. My front porch disciple group that I meet with every Thursday morning, that I met with this morning at 7 a.m. on Rex's porch, right by campus. We talked about this again this morning, and he pulls the coin out. You have to wake up daily and remind yourself that Satan's going to try to destroy you. And it starts with you putting yourself in a battlefield. And I love this comparison. You're in a battlefield. Every single thing that you're doing in your life, Satan wants to destroy it. He's about division, destruction, and obviously negativity and creating cancer and trying to destroy people's lives. the belt of truth, if you were to walk out into the battlefield, I would not let my brothers not have a helmet on.
Yeah.
So when you wake up in the morning, if you don't have your mind right, Satan's going to start there. And the moment you take that helmet off, Satan's going to start there because your mind is going to control the outcome. It controls the tongue, and then it controls the outcome. So then you've got the helmet, you've got the belt of truth that holds the armor on, but Satan's going to find gaps in your armor. Satan's going to find a way. Remember that bully in high school that always picked on the same spot, the same person? Once Satan finds that spot, that's where he's going to poke, destroy, divide. And ultimately, you have to put yourself in a position of a warrior every day, in my opinion, in a spiritual battle. And that's where that coin to me has so much significance. And it's super cool that he handed you that. I knew them.
Mailed it to me. Mailed it to me.
I was like, wow, this is perfect. So wanted to share that with you guys. It's something that I was told by my group and with my team, and I try to share it with my staff, and we pass it on to you guys. Wake up, get your mind right, start your day with God, finish your day with God, start your day with gratitude, walk with gratitude, and everything is much better that way.
That's incredible. Thanks for sharing that. It's been a wonderful conversation, and one that's been laced with faith, and it's been really encouraging to be joined by both of you today. And I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy hearing about your faith journey. Let's flip over to the football game coming up on Saturday. Yeah. And David, Ole Miss has a great opportunity on the road against Oklahoma. Last week against Georgia was right there, could not get the defensive stops. A lot of big plays in that game, specifically that 4th and 2 for Georgia. Ole Miss had the dogs stopped. Georgia gets that first down, and Lane Kiffin and Kirby Smart both said that play catapulted Georgia to winning that game. But all is not lost. The Rebels have everything out in front of them, and an Oklahoma defense is one of the best in the country.
Well, I'll be honest with you, and I hear all these Ole Miss fans talk about, 10-2, and we're in the playoffs. You realize there are 10 SEC teams that could finish 10-2 this year? There are 10 SEC teams right now with 2 losses or less.
Yep.
10's not going to finish 10-2. We know that. But you could have 4, 5, 6, perhaps finish 10-2 with the carnage still left to go. So I personally think Saturday is an elimination game for Ole Miss or Oklahoma, because chances are the winner of this game is going to be one of those 10-2, 11-1 teams. So they're going to have a leg up on the loser of this game. Georgia obviously already has a leg up on Ole Miss. Vanderbilt, Missouri. Who thought we'd be talking about Vandy and Missouri with the possibility of making the college football playoffs at this point of the season? Ole Miss must win this game, period.
1,000%.
I know their schedule after this game gets a little softer, so to speak, but you still have the Florida Gators, who knows what they'll look like when they come to Oxford. And we've got a trip to Mississippi State on the Friday after Thanksgiving. Yep. That is not a guaranteed win. I think this game is one Ole Miss must win. Personally, I think the Rebels need to win out. They need to be 11-1. And if they lose in the SEC title game, that's okay. They'll still get in. I think the committee showed us that last year with deference to teams playing in the conference title games.
Yeah, and Jared, that 11-1, like David said, removes all doubt.
Yeah, 11-1 removes all doubt.
Well, you got to look at last year. We had 3 losses last year, and we're in conversation of, we get 3 losses this year, we're done. The idea that we're talking about 2 losses could be, 2 losses could still push us out, and you're correct. I mean, you look at the schedule, you look at Ole Miss, you compare the wins, you look at Vanderbilt. Let's just pretend we're both 10-2 with Vandy.
Yeah.
We're 10-2, Vandy's 10-2.
We don't play Vandy.
Vandy's biggest win of the year, guess who they beat?
LSU.
Yeah.
Well, who else did they beat? Clemson? No, they didn't beat Clemson. Who they beat? Virginia Tech.
Just look at the games they played against. Look at everybody they played against, and that you compare the teams they beat, but then you compare our biggest win.
Yeah.
It's in question. It's still in question. We don't want to leave a question. I'm talking about Vanderbilt. I'm not talking about if you carry the hype of Texas A&M. It's undefeated right now. Because you got 2 teams in the SEC: Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M. That's 3. But you start with Texas A&M. We can get past Georgia and Alabama all we want. Yeah. Texas A&M's undefeated right now. Yeah. So you've got 3 teams right now that are in over us: Alabama, Georgia, and Texas A&M. Things have to happen to those 3 teams. But if we win out.
If you're 11-1, you're in.
If you're 11-1, you're in.
And even if you go to Atlanta and play in the title game and lose, you're in at 11-2.
Yes, right. You are. So the way we have to look at it is not even who do we play the rest of the year. It's who do we play this Saturday. We have to go 1-0 1 week at a time. You know, I heard it best. You know, 1 day equals 1 week equals 1 month equals 1 year equals a lifetime. You know, if we think too far ahead, as you look at Washington State, we were 1 play away. You know, let's talk about Auburn. Let's talk about Arkansas. Both of those teams' records they're all 1 play away from looking really, really, really good. Auburn's like maybe 4 plays out of being undefeated.
Oh yeah,
they really are. So the SEC is it's clearly becoming even more competitive with all the people that come in. You got these guys that are transferring from the portal and making things obviously extremely interesting every year. But we cannot lose Saturday to Oklahoma.
No,
we cannot. Vegas has us picked at a +5. I think that's a joke. In my personal opinion, you look at Oklahoma, they've averaged 26.5, 27 points a game. Ole Miss has averaged 37 points a game.
Oklahoma has the #1 defense in the country.
Correct.
Brent Venables knows how to coach defense.
That's right.
And he will be ready for the Ole Miss attack on Saturday. And the Palace, this place that we've never played before, we're undefeated all time against Oklahoma, 2-0. But we've never been out there before. Holds 75, 80,000 people. It's going to be a sellout. It already is. This is a play-in or play-out game for the playoffs.
Definitely.
And everybody knows that.
But bring me back to Oklahoma last year. I'm having a blank here. What did that
26-14, I believe.
Cool. So they held us to what, 26 points, which
26.
you would consider that pretty good based on the offense we had last year. I mean, how do you feel about Oklahoma's defense this year versus last year?
Well, they're ranked #1 in the nation. They're better.
And that tells you. And I mean, you look at our team, obviously, you know, we've shown spurts of being as good as last year, but consistently, we've got to put 4 quarters together. You look at what happened against Georgia. We looked amazing for 3 quarters. We looked the #1 team in the country. And in the 4th quarter, we fell apart. And, you know, for me, from a leadership standpoint, I believe that's the one thing that we really need to see happen this coming weekend is somebody on those sidelines. I don't care if it's Austin Simmons as the #2 guy right now. Whoever it is, somebody's got to step up as a player and lead the team with that Tebow mentality and push us to the point to where there is no blowing it. Because we look at the cameras this past weekend, look at what happened in the 4th quarter. We got outscored 17-0, and that was a major deflation. Like the idea that we got outscored 17-0, that's not good. We can't, and I'm saying that based upon the last quarter of football we played was not good. We're going into Oklahoma. We look great for 3 quarters. We have a quarter gap that does not look good. Our practice this week, I'm being told, our defense looked phenomenal. I'm being told that the attitudes were amazing. That's what I'm being told. I truly expect us to go into Oklahoma and win the football game.
I will say real quick, you know, we saw that Pete Golding defense. And Pete Golding, one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, had a really poor game against Georgia. I think you look at that defense on a lot of different levels, whether it be schematically, coaching, player-wise, it all just stunk against the Georgia Bulldogs.
And what's disappointing about that, Brad, is that, and we pointed this out on the last podcast, Ole Miss had basically 3 weeks to game plan for Georgia. What you saw against Washington State, and we both agreed with this, was an anomaly because they just rolled it out there and played ball and beat Washington State. They knew they could do that. It's because they spent the 2 previous weeks and the week leading up to Georgia partially game planning for Georgia. You've got 6 days to get ready for Oklahoma and John Mateer, who is getting healthier. And again, this is the season, guys.
Let's talk about rain on the forecast.
Oh yeah, raining
we'll
all
get
day
that in just a
Friday,
second.
all night, all day Saturday.
But I will say that I believe we're going to see Pete Golding, Ole Miss's this defense is going to see the best effort we've seen all year.
Yeah.
I think I agree with Jared. Everything that I've been told is that defensively this week in practice has been incredibly positive. Now, obviously, you can't just create a new linebacker. You can't go out and get a new cornerback. So I think you get back to basics, look at your schematics, but I do think we'll have a much better effort from this team defensively on Saturday. You talk about the weather. Who does that benefit? Because if you look at the weather and if there's rain in the forecast, does it help Ole Miss? I kind of think it kind of benefits the Rebels a little bit because I think Oklahoma, a team that Mateer's going to run it some, but he likes to go to the air. And anytime you start talking about rain, that's going to help the passing team. And I get it. Trinidad Chambliss, he's going to go to the air a lot too. I just think we're going to have a big day from that offensive line. I really like them. I think the offensive line's been really good. I think Kwan Lacey's going to do really, really big things. And I think Chambliss, and I do think Austin Simmons is going to play a factor.
I go back 25 years. I covered a team one year, Delta State won the Division II national championship in the year 2000. Quarterback position throughout the regular season was split between Ole Miss transfer Jeff Smith and South Panola standout Josh Bright. When the playoffs came around, the weather turned south. It started raining like every Saturday, like water on the field, mud, sleet. They went with Josh Bright through the playoffs, the 6'5", 220-pound kid from South Panola, who was not as good of a passer as Ole Miss transfer Jeff Smith, but he was a great runner. And Delta State slogged its way to the national title that year in bad weather games, much like what we're going to have in Norman on Saturday. I think the advantage is Ole Miss. John Mateer is a noted passer, not a bad runner. He's no Trinidad Chambliss on the ground. I think the advantage goes to Ole Miss. I really do.
I agree with you. I think the release too. If you look at the two of them, they both have great release times. But one thing that really shocked me about Chambliss, and as a quarterback as well, or past quarterback, should I say, Chambliss's release is super quick.
It is.
And in a rainy football game, that is so important because every single second is obviously important in the SEC all the way to the NFL. But the SEC, that half a second is a big difference. And the release time of Chambliss throwing the football is huge. But how quick he knows to just take off with the football is going to be a huge factor against Oklahoma this weekend. I'm not scared of Oklahoma's defense. They can call it number one in the nation. We've got the number one play callers, and we've got the number one offense, in my opinion, when it comes to performance. And we're actually performing number one versus number one. I think we go in this weekend, it comes down to who really wants it the most. And then obviously with a rainy game, turnovers are going to be a major factor. But something inside me says no-brainer. I think Ole Miss wins the football game.
Well, and I got this from a good source. The Sooners are not going to roll Marcus Dupree out there on Saturday. He's not playing. I kid.
Yeah.
Dupree's a good friend of mine, and we talk all the time. Great guy. Also of note, Ole Miss fans going out there have a good friend whose son plays offensive tackle for the Oklahoma Sooners, Isaiah Autry Dent. His dad, Marcus Dent, going to have a huge tailgate set up wherever they tailgate, and it's going to have a Mississippi theme to it. They're from Fulton, Mississippi. So he's invited all the Ole Miss fans who come out there to come to the tent. Marcus Dupree is going to be there. Also understand Will Eccles' mom, Miss Regina, is going to be there as well. So Mississippi Day at the Palace, whatever you want to call it, go by there. They'll have some good food for you, guaranteed.
Yeah, Will Eccles, by the way, could be the defensive player of the year so far for Ole Miss. Has played really well on the defensive line for Ole Miss.
I know you know this because I saw you retweeted it, but I vote on the Lombardi Trophy this year, which goes to the most outstanding interior lineman in the nation. And the first guy I thought about was Will Eccles, to be quite honest with you. Now, I got to look at the whole country, but I like Will Eccles. I think he's had a great year. So, too, is Cam Franklin, by the way.
Yes. We all know the significance of the game on Saturday. Before we leave today, we want to get your key to victory. That key to victory is sponsored by our good friends here at the Velvet Ditch and the Landshark, your go-to location every single ball game weekend, but not just ball game weekends. Every night here in Oxford, they've got an incredible outdoor patio. We're here inside the beautiful facility here. And remember, the Landshark, right on West Jackson Avenue, some of the best seafood that you can get. Incredible Cajun restaurant. David, let's start with you. What is your number one key to victory for Ole Miss on Saturday?
I think you've got to play well in the secondary. And again, I'll hop right back to the defensive side of the ball, particularly the cornerback positions. I think if you look at the Ole Miss defense as a whole, you might single out those corners as maybe the weakness on the Ole Miss defense. I think John Mateer, a healthy John Mateer, can make you pay out on the edges. I think that's key number one. Key number two, dominate the line of scrimmage. You got to go man for man, toe for toe. You go back to the Georgia game, and I said last week on the podcast, physicality was going to be the difference. Georgia stayed physical for 4 quarters. Ole Miss lost an edge in the 4th quarter, and they got outscored 17-0. So, you got to bring it. And thirdly, you have to realize the importance of this game. Again, I'll say this right here and there, and I think you two agree. If Ole Miss loses Saturday, quit the playoff talk. We're probably going to the Mayonnaise Bowl.
Well, I'm going to push back a little, and
push back. That's fine.
I think there's still a path at 10-2. We don't know what's going to happen outside of Oxford.
There is, but the magic number to clinch is.
I'm not saying that Ole Miss does not need to win the game, and that the playoff talk would kind of would ramp up incredible if they win the game. But I'm not ready to bury the Rebels at 10-2. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, look. You and I, way back in the summer, we said these are red letter games.
Yeah.
Georgia and Oklahoma on the road back to back. I don't think anything's changed with that. You win this game Saturday, or you risk getting lumped into a pool of teams, 3 teams that you don't even play: Texas A&M, Alabama, Vanderbilt.
At the end of the season, if you look right now, let's just say we did somehow lose to Oklahoma, which is not going to happen. But let's just say we did lose to Oklahoma. Okay, who is our biggest win at the end of the year?
LSU or Tulane.
That's not getting us in
enough.
At 10-2. When you compare A&M, that's going to be 10-2. Missouri, that's going to be possibly 10-2. Vanderbilt, whoever it may be, their wins are going to outweigh Tulane and LSU, because LSU. All right, and to touch base, you ask him what's the key factor to us winning this game, and I love your answer, but to me, it's leadership, and it starts with Lane Kiffin. If Lane Kiffin can't walk in that locker room and tell those players all the BS about me leaving, I'm dedicated to you in this program. If that's not cleared up, if there is any doubt that these players think that their coach is not going to be here, you've already taken the cleats off on a wet field. That is not okay. We have to have leadership, and it has to start at the top. There is no reason that our players, our staff, anybody should be questioning who's going to be leading them and why that person's there. I heard Lane Kiffin say, and all of you did, he word for word said, "This is not what this program was built off of." He said that in the video after we beat Washington State, and they were celebrating about a 3-point victory or whatever it was. Well, the program, what was it built off of? It was built off leadership then. If that's the man leading us, it starts with him. Walk in the locker room, clear it up, let everybody know, because that would be the biggest spark of anything if the players knew in their heart, if they knew, there's no doubt about it, it starts there. Then there's a player, a coach, whoever it is that's second in line behind Lane Kiffin, needs to step up and lead us to a victory, because that is the thing. It's not the ability. It's not the ability that we lack here at Ole Miss.
And this program's been here before. If you go back to the 22 season, I believe it was, we were 7-0. We lost 5 of our last 6, I believe.
There you go.
5 of our last 6 after all the rumors about the Auburn job came out and came up. And there was this, that, and the other. And Lane never shot it down. He never shot it down for whatever reasons. We can debate that until the cows come home. But we're at the same spot, the same junction. And you just can't tell the kids, this is not what we're built off of.
Clear it up.
You got to show it.
It starts with leadership. Everybody's got to walk out there confident. Nobody should be sucking their thumb that we lost to Georgia by 8 points. Yeah, we did. It's okay. It is what it is. We lost. That game's over with. If that's the only loss we take all season, this comes down to possibly being the best record Ole Miss has ever had when it comes to what we've done here in Oxford, Mississippi. I know it starts with leadership. I know you guys know enough about sports. If there's not proper leadership, everything is bad. Again, I'll say it. If we don't clear up the leadership, clear up rumors, from a player standpoint, even recruiting, all of it, we've got to clear our heads. We need to walk out on the field, know who's leading us, know who's going to stay here, how we're going to win the football game. Because if we're thinking, oh man, we're down 14 and our head coach is leaving, there's not much motivation right there. There's a lot of negativity in the air if we're even considering this man's leaving. So I'm going to put it on Lane Kiffin.
I agree.
Those are the key to victory. Of course, Ole Miss and Oklahoma face each other in Norman, Oklahoma. A kickoff is at 11 a.m. That's on ABC. And, of course, you can listen to it on the Ole Miss Radio Network. Kickoff, once again, 11 a.m. Central here in Mississippi. A big one, a chance for Ole Miss to continue that college football playoff run, as they've got a very manageable schedule. David pointed it out. Florida, South Carolina, Citadel, and then a tough one at Mississippi State at the end of the year. It's been a lot of fun today. We're here at the Velvet Ditch. It's a beautiful place here on South Lamar. We've also got a great sponsorship with Jared and his team at the Landshark. Be sure and go by and see the folks at Landshark. Jared, real quick, haven't talked a lot about the Landshark. Talk about the best shrimp po' boy in town, maybe even in the state. Really, really good place.
I appreciate that, man. Landshark gave birth to all of this. If it wasn't for the staff over there, the people that invested in it, from dancing in a crawfish costume to literally just selling a shrimp to somebody that they didn't like the taste of it. They were able to tell me. My customers are transparent. They're able to tell me, hey, it's not as good today, and we fix it. And that's what the model's built off of, is transparency. And that's what I really enjoyed about this podcast today, is that we've been transparent and not held anything back about what we believe it's going to take to win. So looking forward to it, the next one with you guys.
Absolutely. West Jackson Avenue, go by and tell them you watched us here on the Red and Blue Crew podcast. That's, of course, the Landshark. Also thankful for our other two sponsors, the Hearn Law Firm and the Dirt Doctor, two really good partners here on the Red and Blue Crew podcast, David.
Hey, if you get out to the Landshark, get the Cajun mac and cheese. Okay? Listen, I just started chemo. This is when I just started chemo. Everything I put in my mouth tasted like razor blades. So my wife's like, okay, we're going to go somewhere and we're going to eat. And I said, well, let's go to Landshark. Landshark looks great. Let's go in there. And I ordered the Cajun mac and cheese. First thing I could really and truly eat. Even after you sent the platters of food over to the house, I really appreciated that.
My father was definitely behind that.
Definitely, Lance. So thank you for that. But the Cajun mac and cheese, it went down like butter. Let me say that. It was really good.
Thank you
and
for the support.
I've eaten it probably every other weekend since. Man, it's incredible. Get the big plate. So, Landshark, Velvet Ditch, great guy right here. Fantastic guy who loves this community and is doing great things for Ole Miss and the city of Oxford.
Thank you.
Drive by the corner and just check the Velvet Ditch out. Friday night, Saturday night, Thursday night, it's loaded. The kids all want to come here. The families want to come here.
Yeah.
The tourists want to come here. This is a great place.
We'll have full coverage for you from Norman, Oklahoma. The Red and Blue Crew podcast will follow the game as we recap, and hopefully an Ole Miss win. He's Jared Foster, the proprietor here at the Velvet Ditch and the Landshark. He's David Johnson. I'm Brad Logan. We'll talk to you soon right here on the Red and Blue Crew podcast.
Howdy-toddy, everybody.